After reopening just weeks ago, the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library shutting its doors soon. Find out how long officials are planning to keep it that way. And Somerville police need your help tonight finding a group of suspects wanted in an armed robbery. But this isn't the first time criminals have robbed that same store. We'll explain. Your Krhd News starts right now.
Connecting the Brazos Valley, this is Krhd News.
Thanks for tuning in at 5. I'm Hallie Jones. Our big story tonight, it's closing time again for the Bush Library soon. Administrators say federal mandates over COVID restrictions are forcing them to close public access. Tonight, Krhd News reporter Rebecca Fiedler finds out how many at the library are saying, here we go again.
As we continue to see a trend in COVID-19 cases throughout Brazos County, the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library and Museum is once again being forced to temporarily close its doors starting next week.
This indefinite closure comes from a mandate through the federal government's National Archives and Records Administration, who oversee all presidential libraries across the country.
So we saw the numbers going up the last couple of weeks, so we kind of had an idea. There's actually, the National Archives has a threshold, 200 cases per 100,000 and a positivity rate of 10%.
According to Museum Director Warren Finch, as Brazos County has now surpassed that threshold of COVID cases, the museum doors will be forced closed until area health improves. The Bush Museum and Library had been open this past month to a limited amount of pre-booked tours after being closed for over a year. Now, the museum will be refunding pre-bought tour tickets for any dates following this Sunday.
Quite frankly, I'm hoping this is just a temporary thing and we open up as soon as we can.
A number of guests were still able to make it out to visit the museum this Friday. The Steer family had traveled all the way to Texas from Pennsylvania to tour the state and visit both Bush presidential libraries.
Had never been to this grave, the only presidential grave that I've not been to, so it's a bucket list thing, and glad we're here, and I'm glad it's still open.
These out-of-state visitors said they would be disappointed to see museums like this one closed.
There's a lot of history to take in here, and it'd be a shame not to be able to take it in.
Employees will be made to work from home. So far, despite the long-term closure before, no staff were furloughed or laid off, including those who perform physical tasks that can't be remotely diverted, such as janitorial staff. Finch remains hopeful that the museum will not have to take any hits that will affect his team or long-term operations.
Everything worries me, but I think I'm going to remain positive that this is a temporary setback.
The museum and library will continue to offer programming and updated content on their website. Reporting in College Station, Rebecca Fiedler, Krhd News.
But it's not too late to get your tickets to the Bush Library. All weekend long, you can take your family to the Presidential Library and Museum. It's open until Sunday at 5 o'clock. Head on over to KRHDnews.com for ticket info.
Hey, open now, right there. Open this. Open this. Hurry up. Hey, grab the phone. Grab the phone. Grab the phone.
That's surveillance footage from an armed robbery last month in Somerville. Burleson County law enforcement need your help solving who robbed a gas station on July 15th. Police say it happened in the 16,000 block of State Highway 36 when 3 armed men came into a store with handguns demanding money from patrons and a clerk. That employee suffered injuries after being pistol whipped, though police say this isn't the first time it's happened at that location. A similar robbery happened last September. Those with information leading to an arrest may be awarded up to $1,000. Call the number on your screen to help solve this crime. And the Houston man accused of shooting a teen to death is back on the street again. A judge granted Gerald Williams a $350,000 bond despite a motion by prosecutors to deny it. Williams turned himself into police last week after being identified in connection with what police are calling a road rage shooting. 17-year-old David Castro was fatally shot in the head after attending a Houston Astros game. Williams is due back in court on November 16th. And a police chase near Houston ended when the driver crashed into a pool. This was the scene Friday morning. The crash happened just after 3:15 a.m. Authorities say it all started when someone threatened a woman with a gun at a gas station and stole her Honda CR-V. As police were getting a statement from her about what happened, the stolen car vehicle drove by. Officers chased the driver until the car crashed through a fence and into a pool. The driver got away, but the police rescued a passenger from the water and took them into custody. They're still looking for the driver, who they think may be hiding in the same neighborhood. It's a story 7 decades in the making. One Texas doctor is finally walking the stage to graduate from Texas A&M soon. Tonight, our Hannah King explains how 92-year-old Dr. Joe Knowles is making a lifelong dream a reality.
For Dr. Joe Knowles, the journey into obtaining a biology degree from Texas A&M University began in the spring of 1947. A lifelong dream will come true Friday, August 13th, as he walks across the stage here at Reed Arena as an Aggie, class of 2021. 70 years later, with the help of a neighbor and the experience from using this medical bag, Dr. Knowles is getting his undergraduate degree. Dr. Joe Knowles was a young boy in Bryan in the 40s during World War II and worked as a local paperboy. He saw something on his routes often, something that meant sacrifice and honor.
13-mile paper route every afternoon. I passed lots of windows that had stars in them. There, people in that house were in the Army. A lot of those stars were gold, and you know what that meant.
And an Aggie degree would be a star in his window. Originally, he was meant to be a member of the Texas A&M class of 1950. He says he's always been an Aggie, enrolled or not. Stick around for KRHD News tonight at 6 to hear the motivation behind it all and what exactly an Aggie degree would mean to him. Reporting from Texas A&M, Hannah King, KRHD News.
The mystery behind the diets that may cause dogs to develop a deadly form of heart disease is slowly unraveling.
So we looked at foods that have been associated with DCM and more typical foods. And I think the key results were interesting because we were able to identify quite a few specific compounds.
Vet nutritionist Dr. Lisa Freeman is part of a team at Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine at Tufts University. They looked at dog foods associated with dilated cardiomyopathy, and they were able to identify biochemical compounds that were higher and lower in diets associated with DCM. 4 ingredients distinguished the 2 diet groups: peas, lentils, chicken or turkey, and rice. Now, of these, peas showed the greatest association with higher concentrations of compounds in DCM-associated diets.
And again, those could be things that could be too low in the diet or could actually be too high in the diet. So that's one of the next steps that we'll be looking at, both in the diets as well as in the dogs themselves.
Now, Dr. Freeman says this is no smoking gun. Instead, it just gives them the compounds to target in their next research in dogs. Meantime, she recommends talking to your vet about a diet that is best for your dog based on size and breed. Also, buying from well-established dog food manufacturers, and buy food with common, well-researched ingredients, including grains.
This is a problem that really has been literally keeping me up at night. So I wish we had the answer. But I think it does get us a step closer to solving the problem and gives us a lot of targets to look at in greater detail.
The FDA has reports of dogs and cats dying from this particular heart disease that were on all sorts of diets. It could be about the amount of ingredients or a combination of ingredients or genetics, and that's why vets nor the FDA are steering dog owners away from any ingredient in particular. But the FDA has identified food brands associated with the investigation. First, we told you about the bike shortage that has left some store aisles bare. Now demand for electric bikes is making them harder to come by. During the pandemic, e-bikes have become a hot commodity, but the eco-friendly rides can be pricey. Usher Qureshi takes a look at the e-bike trend that you might want to wait to buy in for in order to save some big bucks.
Pandemic boredom.
I started working from home. I was like, I need to get out of the house.
A lack of parking.
I actually sold my car because this was just so much more convenient. You can park on the sidewalk.
Drove Eve Santiago to pony up a few $1,000s for her electric bike.
They're big investments.
But after a few modifications like a new headlight, seat, and upgraded battery, she was off.
If I need to get around traffic, I can easily go into the bike lane because it's an electric bike. It's way more convenient.
It's that convenience that has sparked a boom in the e-bike industry as Americans seek ways to get outside while avoiding commuter crowds.
The catalyst was clearly COVID, and people became more aware of alternative transportation.
During the pandemic, California-based Pedigo Electric Bikes, which has about 200 retail stores around the country, reported sales of $121 million.
Our stores are doing 2 and 3 times the volume they did. Used to take a year before they break even. Now they break even in month 1, and they start making money in month 2. It's just, I've never seen anything like it.
Advocates say e-bikes are great for users with limited ability and mobility and can even lead to a car-free household.
Electric bicycles are truly unique in that electric boost just expands the physical activity of bicycling as an option to so many more Americans.
It's also eco-friendly. A 2019 study from the Transportation Research and Education Center found that a 15% increase in e-bike use across the U.S. could reduce 11% of transportation-related CO2 emissions and would replace 72% of car miles that would have been traveled for strictly practical purposes. Electric bikes can range in price from the very low end at around $600 to $8,000 for high-end e-bikes, not including customization. If you're in the market for an e-bike, it's important to note there's an effort to try and make this kind of transportation more economical for the average consumer. The E-Bike Act, introduced in the Senate with a companion bill in the House, would prioritize electric bicycles as a zero-emission mode of transportation. If passed, it would give consumers a refundable 30% tax credit on the purchase of a new electric bicycle, up to $1,500.
So we're thinking lower income Americans, you are still fully eligible to receive this credit.
Advocates say the goal is to replace short car trips with CO2 eliminating electric bike trips.
You can do it with cargo in the back. You can do it with your groceries for the week. You could do it for deliveries, things like that. It makes hills that much easier, longer distances a bit shorter.
For enthusiasts like Eve Santiago, it's just charge and go.
It's so much more convenient to say, hey, I've got to go run an errand, I'm going to hop on the bike. You don't have to worry about street parking. That is a huge, huge thing.
Reporting from Chicago, I'm Usher Qureshi.
Now let's get a check of the weather with First Alert meteorologist Caleb Chevalier.
Thank you, Hallie. The Brazos Valley has had to contend with some isolated showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. You can see on our satellite and radar composite all the cumulus clouds and, yeah, even some showers in the mix, kind of spilling off some bigger showers just down to our south. These are going to continue over the next little while. I imagine by sunset, a lot of this is going to be fading away once things start to cool off, but cannot rule out a little bit of rain in the Brazos Valley as we go throughout the rest of your evening. So Future Track is going to keep a little bit of those in play. This is 8 o'clock. Keep in mind there might still be maybe even some rumbles of thunder in the area at this time, but we're not expecting a whole lot of rainfall out of this one. That's going to leave us with some clearing conditions tonight, and tomorrow it should be relatively dry. Now, you might have seen some flashes of green on Future Track here. I think any rain is going to be staying out of the area tomorrow, except maybe some exceptions of a very brief shower in Grimes County, and that would really be about it. It's going to be a hot and dry day for your Saturday, and the same can be said for Sunday. As these temperatures only begin to get hotter, we get more sunshine on Sunday, and we start making a run at some upper 90s. It might be a few days until we get there, but it's definitely going to start feeling a whole lot more like August, at least more August-like than it has been the past couple days. We will have some winds to help cool us off. Those will be out of the south tonight at about 10 miles per hour. Same thing for tomorrow, and your winds on Sunday, right around 10 to 11 miles per hour out of the south. So a little bit of a breeze to help keep things a little bit cooler. Here is that 10-day forecast. We're going to be up to 95 on Sunday and Monday. And as we go into the rest of the week, 96 on Tuesday and Wednesday. There is no rain out there. It is a very dry forecast indeed, except for maybe a little bit on Friday. That'll leave us with a drier weekend as temperatures get close to those upper 90s.
From Olympic hopeful to battling the healthcare system, a retired athlete is among millions whose livelihoods have been threatened by medical debt. Now, while Congress passed a new law banning surprise bills, it doesn't go into effect for months. And some are telling Amanda Brandeis that it's important that we all learn our rights now so we're prepared.
As the saying goes, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. If I was more punctual, if my alarm went off, I wouldn't be here.
Phil Diamond was a junior in high school when he missed the bus that day.
Rode my bike to the shuttle where they switch buses, and I got there faster.
His new solution to sleep in longer.
And then I kind of enjoyed it and accidentally lost like 40 pounds.
And eventually turned it into a career.
It was the first thing I was ever good at.
But after 8 years, his pro cycling career came to an end.
It wasn't a tough decision because there's just not that many spots.
But retirement would prove to be another happy accident.
Real pleasant day to be out here killing myself.
Or as he calls it,
I'm on year 5 of worst retirement ever, which is almost as long as I raced, and my life's a lot better. So I'm at 13,000 feet now.
He was still training and posting content online, gaining followers and sponsors.
I was far more valuable having adventures on YouTube and getting hill climb records than I was finishing 18th at, some weird race in Belgium no one's heard of.
3 years into retirement, he got a call from USA Cycling.
I just thought, like, cool, I'll go there, I'll make one video from a YouTube channel, Phil tries out for the Olympics, and that'll be the end of it. But I went, and my time was really fast.
3, 2.
Then it was basically throwing all my plans the rest of the year in the trash, because if the Olympics is possible, then nothing else really matters.
But just as quickly as it came, the dream was taken away. A life-threatening crash in the qualifying race sent him into retirement for the second and final time.
The next 2 months were just like a blur of hospitals where you can't even tell day from night.
He received care at 2 East Coast hospitals.
I do have health insurance, and I'm fundamentally okay. It's going to be a little bit, but I'm okay. And I would like that you take that money and give it to No Kid Hungry, who needs it more than I do. And ironically, I was not covered.
While he had 2 insurance plans, the care was out of network. Most of his claims were denied, leaving him with $150,000 in medical bills.
And for months, I thought it was a mistake.
He says some of the charges weren't adding up. Fighting them became his full-time job.
I was freaked out when it was $90,000 and the second bill came, and that might have been like the first time I cried in the entire accident.
A new law in effect next year bans providers from charging out-of-network prices for emergency care. For scheduled procedures, out-of-network providers must give patients an estimated bill ahead of time. Ambulances, however, will still be exempt from the law.
A lot of people are scared into paying for these bills and bullied into it or tricked into it. In a lot of ways, they try to do all that to me.
The law will create one system for filing complaints, which can be made verbally or in writing. The government must respond to claims within 60 days. Providers could face up to $10,000 for each violation.
I picked a cause, and I believe in No Kid Hungry, and like the cause of medical BS found me. I don't want to spend the rest of my life being a politician or spouting about that, but it is something that everyone needs to know about.
I'm Amanda Brandeis reporting.
All right, Amanda, thank you. 33 states have laws on the books protecting patients from surprise medical billing, but in states that don't, patients must often advocate for themselves. When possible, only go to a hospital in your network, check to make sure the care you receive from imaging services to surgeons are covered by your insurance plan. And if you don't think you need an ambulance, it is within your rights to refuse a ride. Also, always ask about assistance programs to help offset the costs. Now, finally in the lineup, a security risk discovered on e-readers. We have what to look for on other devices in your home that are connected to the internet.
This particular attack would have turned a Kindle device into a weapon on your home network, for example, that could have then subsequently attacked, your laptops or your mobile devices.
Now, through the Responsible Disclosure Agreement, Check Point made Amazon aware of the security flaw before it went public or could be exploited. Amazon created a fix, a firmware update released back in April. It should automatically download to Kindle devices when connected to the internet. Now, that's something that you should check for. The big takeaway is that any device that connects to the internet could easily become a security risk.
E-readers, washing machines, mobile devices, laptops, they're all connected anymore. So trying to keep up with those latest security fixes is a real challenge for most people.
In addition to keeping up security software up to date. Never trust third-party emails, whether it's a free ebook or a link to a website. A lot of people get their free content on their Kindle through the email address that Amazon offers everyone, and that could easily allow bad actors to target specific demographics.
Well, don't go anywhere. Right after World News Tonight, I'm back in 30 minutes for Krhd News at 6. We'll see you then.